Welcome to The Route to Success, where we explore the science of hope, resilience, and practical leadership through real stories from people who are building meaningful lives and businesses. Today's guest is Patrice Brown, a consultant, fellow podcast host, and operations leader who helps mission-driven professionals build sustainable businesses while staying grounded in what matters most. Patrice's journey into leadership was anything but linear. She explored multiple majors in college. I love this. Followed opportunities that sparked curiosity, girl after my own heart, I do the same thing, and ultimately discovered her passion in healthcare programs, operations, and supporting people who want to serve others. What stands out most about Patrice is her perspective on resilience. She believes that hope is not something you arrive at once everything is perfect. Hope is something you practice every day. It grows in small moments. I'm going to get teary-eyed because this is a reminder I needed today. A quiet cup of tea, a walk outside, coloring to slow the mind, looking up at the sky, remembering that life is bigger than the problem in front of you. In this conversation, we are going to talk about finding joy in small daily moments and how that can change the way we face stress, uncertainty, and leadership challenges. And we're going to explore practical ways to reset your mindset during difficult days and why cultivating joy is not a luxury. It is a tool that helps us stay hopeful, grounded, and resilient. Patrice, welcome. Welcome for an amazing conversation.
Oh, I'm so happy to be here. I'm looking forward to this conversation. I feel like we're on the same page, so it's going to be great.
I agree. I'll be honest, I had a rough morning, so I took myself for a walk. So I'm already living your tools. I love it. All right. So let's talk about your leadership, your journey into leadership and a non-traditional path, also fellow non-traditional path person. You explored several majors and industries before finding work that felt right.
Yeah.
Looking back, how did following your instincts shape the leader you are today?
Yeah, I love this question because thinking back through my career, my journey, what I recognized was at the very beginning, right out of school, after changing majors 4 times, what I learned about changing all of those majors was I ultimately settled on English, which people laughed at me. They're like, "What are you going to do with that? Are you going to write a book? Are you going to be a lawyer? Like, what are you going to do?" Because it had so many opportunities. And my thought was, I'm following what I love. And yes, it does have many opportunities, and I get to explore, as opposed to my husband is an engineer. Shout out to all of those engineers, but he knew what he wanted and he was linear. That was not me. I'm like, I'm all over the place. So let's really give myself an opportunity to explore. And my first job was in the petroleum industry, working on a certification program. And I didn't love it. And so I thought, let me do something else. And so in navigating through that, I left there and worked in statistics. And gathering all of that together, I recognized I still wasn't doing what I wanted. So after a few years of that and relocating to a different state, I decided I knew what I wanted at that point because I had the chance to explore it. And I went to grad school and really decided to focus on healthcare and making sure that I was engaging in a way that was impactful. And that decision to allow myself the opportunity to explore before I really zeroed in on something that I wanted, and then to really secure my knowledge and experience in that so that I could help others, I think was a lesson for me in following my own instincts to get to a place where I feel good about what I have to offer.
I love it. Did you know I have a bachelor's in English too? I don't know if I shared that. I love, that's why we're connecting. I love
Yes.
it. Okay.
Yes.
And exploring paths. So let me be serious for a minute. When you have the ability to listen to your gut, as you said, and when you can learn to trust it, the information that comes out is incredible. Absolutely incredible. And I love the fact that you gave yourself that space and that grace to explore and to learn and to listen to yourself, because so many people don't do that.
Yes.
So one of the themes I would love to explore today is joy. You and I have talked a lot about joy. Many people think joy is something that happens after success. But you describe it as something we practice daily. When did you realize the power of small, joyful moments in helping you navigate stress and uncertainty?
It's so weird. It happened for me randomly, and I can almost envision exactly when it happened. I was in high school. I was really stressed about some some exam or some paper that I had to write, and I opened my front door, and the sky was incredibly beautiful. It was one of those evenings, the sun was setting, the sky was all sorts of pinks and purples, and it was just gorgeous. And I sat there for a good 10 minutes and just watched the sky. And it became a routine of whenever I was stressed, I would watch the sky and I would watch the clouds moving, just whatever it was. I'd notice the birds and like all of the things. And that's when I was like, you know what? It doesn't have to be something grand. It doesn't have to be something that takes a lot of time. I don't really need anything other than to look up at the sky, and it can give me some peace. I can find joy. I can recognize that there's so much else going on other than the thing that I'm worried about. Um, and I'm a person of faith, and there's kind of the story about the birds, right? The birds, God feeds the birds. The birds never worry about where they're going to find their next meal. They just live. And that really hit home for me because I don't have to worry about it. I have to work hard. I have to do all the things, but I can still find joy in the middle of the chaos. And so that to me has been a guiding principle as I move forward in my life.
I love how you brought the birds into it and how your faith supports you. I would say I also have a very strong faith, and in really challenging times, what I will say over and over again, because let me say, I am not good at praying. It's something I struggle with. And so what I will say is, I can't trust myself, but I trust God. Or I'll
Uh,
say something like, it's easier to trust God than myself. So I'm just going to keep trusting God. If God got me here, I can do this. And it's just like these reminders or these pep talks. And it's so funny because I'll find myself giving pep talks to God. And I'm like, this is so weird. Why am I giving God a pep talk? The pep talk is for me. But apparently, this is how I've figured out how to pray
mhm.
productively for myself and walking through days. I can't tell you how many times I leave for a walk and I start off speed walking, right? And I'll have my little dog with me and she's looking at me and she's like, what's wrong? What's wrong? And I'm like, trust God, trust God, trust God. And then slowly it just, the sun moves or the clouds move or there's these beautiful flowers. I'm sure other people call them weeds. I don't know what they are. These little beautiful purple flowers that pop up and the daisies and you know what I'm saying. And you can just stop and show them to my dog and she rolls in the grass and I laugh and everything's just fine. It's just
Yeah,
like that. It's those moments of joy.
it is. And it was interesting. I was talking with someone not that long ago, and we were talking about trying to prepare for something and how you really think about all of the things that can go wrong.
Yeah.
And he stopped and he said, think of all the times you worried about what would go wrong. How often did it go wrong? And
Never.
it never does, or it's the slightest thing that's somewhat
Right.
off from what you planned, but it's never the disaster, thank God, right? You don't
Right.
want that.
Right.
But it's this idea that there's so much worry, and
Right.
people are planning for catastrophes. I believe in being prepared, but there's also room to stop and appreciate how far you've come, or the planning that's happened already, or the flowers in the grass. Like there's space for that. And people seem to make more space for the worry than they do for the appreciation and the joy. So let's
Mhm.
make space for joy.
I agree. I agree because you know what? Worry is going to do nothing but make us look old. That's what I tell myself to make myself giggle.
I'm with you on that. We don't need more lines. We're fine.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. I jumped ahead a little bit. I apologize. But the next question is about your faith. So you shared that your faith helps keep you grounded during difficult times. How does that grounding help you maintain hope when things feel uncertain or overwhelming?
Yeah. I think for me, it's the understanding that I'm here for a reason.
Mm,
And my life has meaning and purpose.
Mhm.
And there are times when it seems like things are really hard and I might not be sure what the next move is. And that's when I'm like, I just need to surrender. There's this calmness that comes when I understand I can surrender to whatever the next thing is. Of course, I'm going to do the work. I'm going to try my best. All of those things, right? Those never stop. But
Right.
having the faith that God is leading me somewhere, and if I do my part, I know He's doing His part. So just keep
Right.
moving forward. And there are setbacks. There are times when things are a little different than I anticipated, but I'm a firm believer in everything happens for a reason.
Amen. Yes.
So if it didn't go the way I anticipated, maybe it's leading me to something bigger and better, or a lesson that I need to learn to prepare me for the next thing. And so I'm going
Mhm.
to embrace it and try to learn from it so that I can keep moving forward in the way God intended.
I love that. I love
Yeah,
that. It's so beautiful. I
thank
love
you.
how you can when you have faith and put your trust in God, you really can just work. It is that simple. You show up, you give 110%, you do everything, but you don't have to do more.
Yes, that's exactly right. And I do want to take a step back because I've talked with other people, and everybody is in a different part of their faith journey, right? And some
Good point.
people are like, well, I'm just going to sit back and let things happen. And, that may work for them, but I'm a firm believer in doing the work, right? You have to do the
Right.
work and engage. And that engagement is kind of like the activation. It keeps things moving forward. Yeah.
First of all, thank you for holding space for everybody and highlighting everybody's on a different place on their journey, spiritually, religiously, in their faith. I love that. And you are correct. I want to laugh because of how much you're saying what's in my heart and my head, because apparently we do the same thing. So, like, if I'm praying for more patience, I will actively look for ways to have more patience. Sometimes because I work from home, that's practicing having more patience with my dogs. But I think, and that was a bad example. I couldn't think of anything better. I apologize. But I think you and I are the same. When we pray for something, then we've got to take those steps and keep moving forward and know we're going to meet God where we're supposed to be and learn what we're supposed to learn because we're moving forward too. Did I say that right?
You did, absolutely. And
Okay.
a word on dogs. I have dogs too, or I have a dog. And so I had a talk with my dog before I got on today. I'm like, please no barking. So we do have to have patience with our dogs. Absolutely.
Yes, yes. Mine loves to wait until I'm in a podcast or a really important meeting, and then she'll sit on the couch. I have two, but he's the other one. He's older, so if I put his bed out, we're golden, right? But she'll sit on the back of the couch, and a fly could fly by, and she barks. And so I just learned to roll with the punches.
Yeah, yeah. Like,
Yeah.
there will be people that walk on the sidewalk, and that's okay. They're not attacking the house. It's just fine.
We have the same conversations. Oh, I love it. I love it. Um, I want to talk about resetting.
Mm.
Full disclosure, I had a rough morning. I had to reset myself today. So, what are some of your rituals? I know you've mentioned you have a tea ritual, you color, which I love, and then you also step away to slow down. Can you share a few small habits or rituals or practices, whatever you want to call them, that people can use during a difficult day to reset their mind?
Yes. So my favorite is tea. I've been drinking tea since as long as I can remember. It's sort of like a family tradition. And I drink it in the morning, I drink it at night, like all day long. I'm a tea girl. And so, depending on the level of stress, I have different kinds of teas. And so, I'm typically a strong black tea, but sometimes I need a fruity tea. Sometimes I just need a mint. There's something about like
Yes.
spearmint tea that just brings me so much calm and I just feel really good. But in addition to tea, what I've been doing more of is breath work. There's something about breathing in, taking a moment to hold it, let the breath out, counting down. It's just resetting the stress that always comes. Stress comes almost every day, right? We can't avoid it, but it's a matter of how we handle it. And so for me,
Mhm.
I drink tea. I work on my breath work. Some people exercise. I haven't gotten there. Like I must say, I'm not much of an exerciser, but I will take the dog for a walk. That really helps me too. Um, and so those are the main things. But I have to tell you, you did mention the coloring. I picked up coloring maybe 7 years ago. And it has been a way, especially when I'm on vacation or I just need a moment. If my family knows if I'm breaking out my pencils, just leave me alone. I just need a minute. And there's something about, and they don't have to be perfect, but just the act of selecting the colors and seeing what goes together and taking the time to fill in different parts or create something from scratch. I think the creativity that comes in using that as a way to counteract whatever else is going on that's not bringing me joy. I think it's really just tapping into that creativity that resets. And then I come back thinking, okay. And I have to tell you, sometimes I come back and I have a new perspective. There's something about
Yes.
the colors and the creativity, something about that. I'm like, oh, here's a new way to think about it or approach it.
Mhm.
Or here's something that could work that maybe I thought couldn't work. Here's a new way to really embrace where I currently am and where I want to go. So I'm all for using creativity and that part of the brain as a way to break out of when something's really challenging.
I can relate to you 110%. So I crochet.
Ah,
I love to make artistic things, but my favorite thing to do especially when I'm stressed, is to cook
ah,
and get really creative in my cooking and make a recipe up or build off of a recipe or just do something for me in the kitchen.
mm,
And that calms my spirit, feeds my belly. And you're so right about then I will, now that you're saying, I can see I start breathing differently. I'm in a different zone. And afterwards, it is a whole different perspective,
ah.
you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. I do have a question for you. Do you cook with music?
So sometimes if my daughter and I are cooking together, we have music going. But okay, I'm going to share. This is super nerdy. I think that this is the first time I've ever said this. I love to read. I'm kind of addicted to reading. And so I listen to audiobooks when I can, as much as I can. So my favorite thing to do is to cook to an audiobook.
Oh, that's interesting. I hadn't heard that before, but I can
Yeah.
see
Yeah. So thank God for the Libby app. It allowed me to connect my library card to
that.
this like online library of digital books and audiobooks because I'm being honest with you, I could not afford my habit. I think last year I went through like 140 audiobooks.
Okay.
I might have a little bit of a problem.
Hey, it works for you. That's awesome.
Yeah, and they're free. So, that's why I told my daughter, when you're checking them out from the library, it's a whole different mindset than when you go to the bookstore and you're like, this book is $25. Do I really want to buy it? Do I really want to read it? But then when you're at the library and you're like, I'll give it a try. Let me try something new.
Yes. Shout out to all the public libraries out there. Yes.
Yes. Yes. I would live in one if I could. That's another
Mhm.
thing I've never said before, but I would live in a library if I could.
Can I
So,
have to, there's something about, I know we're talking about audiobooks, but there's something about the smell of a book.
yes.
Oh,
Yes.
yes.
Nothing is better than the smell of a book. And when it's like one of your favorite books, so it's like sitting down with the best friend and you
Mm.
crack it open and you've probably read it 3 or 4 times. And so it's a little worn like you and getting the smell and the memories and feeling the paper.
Oh, okay. So I used to travel a lot for work, and I would always bring Anna Karenina, like 700
Yes.
pages, and try because in college I was supposed to read it, and I read what I needed to write the paper, but I was like, no, I'm actually going to read it and enjoy it. And so I'd bring it, and there was something about having that book, as big as it was, as much space as it took up, but having that book with me and going through it on, at the airport, waiting in the hotel, all of the things. absolutely. That brought me joy.
Yes. Yes. And there's just all these little things. And like, I have little books that I keep all over the RV. I live in an RV, and I probably drive my daughter crazy. And they're positive thoughts that you can read like 2 or 3 sentences. And I have them stashed all over so I could be doing something and pull one out and be like, oh, here's today's thought.
Love it. Love
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
It's a little of my crazy. So I will say, full disclosure, I've spoken with Patrice a couple times, and every time has been filled with joy. And I felt a very deep connection. And our last conversation for me was very, very powerful and really resonated. And I held on to it for a long time. And it was that reminder that a problem is not everything in your life,
Yes.
and that there are still other beautiful things around you. So, especially in the current situation, and I try really hard not to speak about politics, but let's just say the current situation of our country, the stress is at an all-time high. How can leaders train themselves to notice those moments instead of staying stuck in stress? Did I say that correctly? The moments of joy. You knew what I was saying.
Yeah, I know. That is one of the most challenging things as a leader, right? Because so I've led really big teams and super small teams, right? It's just me and one other person. But what I'll say is, if you're building relationships with your team members, you understand, like when you're doing one-on-ones, when you're doing skip levels, all of those things, you know when someone's different and they know when you're different. I'll give an example. I was going into the office. This was a few years ago. I was stuck in traffic. I had to take my daughter to a camp and then make it in, and I was trying to get in early. It was one of those nightmare mornings. And I was going, like we've all been there, right?
Oh,
And
yes.
I'm going into my office, and someone on the team saw me, and she just looked at me, and she could see how frazzled I was from all of that morning. And she was like, I need to see you, but maybe we'll wait. And I was like, yes, I need a few minutes to collect myself, and then we can meet so it can be productive. And the reason I bring that up is this: everyone needs a minute. And we have to recognize that there's a lot going on right now, no matter kind of what your beliefs or what aisle you want to be on and all of those things. Not everyone is feeling connected. Not everyone is feeling like the world is going in a direction that they're happy about. Some people are concerned about family members that are in all parts of the world. And so there's a lot of stress. And I think the more that people can see each other as humans and not as a subordinate or a team member, like all of those titles go away. We're just human people experiencing something together. Using that perspective is really important to then giving people space that they need so that we can find joy. Like we have to
Right.
get the joy, but first it's the recognition that people are going through things and that they do need space and time to manage through those things and to be supportive. I think that was one of the things that I learned more than anything else as a leader, was to see each person as an individual, as a person first, and support them in their personhood before we talk
Yes.
work. And doing that led to connection and actually led to joy. There's so many times when things were stressful and we would laugh because we saw each other as people and not as boss and team member and those kinds of things.
Right.
So really long-winded answer, but I think you got what I meant.
I think what you said is so beautiful and so pertinent, because what I like to say, which is not anywhere as eloquent as you, is, when we check our egos at the door and we sit down at a round table and everybody's equal, then we see each other as people, not titles. And I love to ask people, what is something you're most proud about right now? What is something you're most excited about right now that's not in your work life? And I try to find creative ways to ask questions where we can build connections and get to know each other, but still maintain boundaries, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. How many times have people asked, well, how was your weekend? They don't really
Mhm.
care. It's just the
Right.
question to ask before they dive into what needs to happen for the week, right?
Right.
And, you know, how are your kids? How was
Mhm.
soccer? All of those
Yeah.
things. The person feels seen. We all want to
Mhm.
feel seen, right? And so if
Yeah.
people can feel seen and like you care, then the working relationship is that much deeper and better. And so let's build toward that.
Yeah. And I think if I may add to you, I think we need to stop saying let's leave our baggage at the door because
Yeah.
we can't do that as people.
Oh
You
no.
know,
Yeah.
we
That's
need to respect that. Yeah. I
Mhm.
sat down to a meeting with a person I mentor. Well, mentor and yeah, that's the right term, last week. And I noticed that he was just very angry. And so I
Mhm.
just let him talk, but I just kept getting anger off of him. And I looked at him finally and I said, hey, what's going on? Because your energy is different. And because I didn't want to pry, I didn't say that. I just said, then what is affecting your energy right now? Because this is not the normal energy you come in here with. How can I help you? And he just stopped and he looked at me and he was like, how did you know something was wrong? And I was like, it's your energy.
Mm.
I respect if you don't want to talk about it, but is there something I can do to help you? I'm willing to talk it through. I'm willing to take this time to work through that
Yeah.
or just acknowledge it. And I thought he would just acknowledge it. We would move on because he tends to be one of those people. Surprised me. He just poured it all out. And I was like, okay,
Mm.
let's talk about that instead of your work and we'll get there, you know? But I think it's recognizing and knowing people well enough to say, hey, Patrice, your energy's a little off today. What can I help you with? How can I help you? What can I take off of your plate? Or that's
Mhm.
how I word things. And I always tell people, word things that are authentic for you. Say things the way you would say them.
That's right. And what happens from there, the trust factor just increases multiples, right? Because then
Mhm.
that person knows that you care beyond just whatever that conversation is or whatever that
Right.
task is. I mean, that's such a great way to build on your relationship with that person.
Thank you. So
Yeah.
let's talk about joy in nature. And I will tell you, that is my favorite thing to do. I would be a farmer if I could. My daughter and I were laughing about that last night, but nature. So, walking on the beach, watching the sky change colors before sunset, even remembering moments like that from childhood. Why do you think those quiet moments help us reconnect with hope?
It's weird. I'm gonna take it back to something that it's just popping up for me as you're talking. I can see it so vividly. When I was really young, my mom used to garden a lot. And we had a really large backyard, and there was this corner section where she had her garden. And I would go in there with her and just being in the dirt. I used to love digging in the dirt and playing with the worms and like doing all of that stuff. And I think that's where my appreciation for nature really started was in my mom's garden. And it's just weird that like that is I can see it so clearly right now. And there's something about being in the dirt and seeing that
Mhm.
so much springs from that, like watching plants grow, watching, you plant the seed and then you water it and then it grows and then you have corn or you have tomatoes or whatever, cucumber, whatever it is you're growing. And there's something just it's cyclical, but it also there's something about responsibility and care
Mhm.
and nurture. So there's so much to learn from just being a part of nature and respecting it. I think that's the other piece too that's really important. It's great to appreciate it, but also respect it and what it
Mhm.
gives. We have like, I told you about my dog, and so he goes out in the backyard all the time and he's smelling and this and there's a bunny rabbit and he's always chasing the bunny that comes over from the other yard, all of those things. And it's just interesting to watch the circle and how things support each other. Um, I think it speaks more about kind of life, and I
Yeah.
just really appreciate how it all functions together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get what you're saying. Um, unfortunately, we don't have a backyard anymore, but so I walk my dog about 8, 9 times a day. That's my ADHD. That's not her. She's just my support system, right? But the other day, I was walking her, and it had been a stressful minute, and she stopped me, and she just started sniffing the air, and she started to
Mhm.
smile, and that always makes me stop and look at her, and I couldn't help it. I couldn't hold it, and I said, "I wish I could smell what you're smelling right now.
Ah,
What is that?" Just the joy that was all over her face, and what she absorbed it all. She did this little skip and came up to me and just, leaned into me, and I patted her, and she's like, it's like her little face was like, okay, let's go on. And we just went, and but it's those moments, and you're so right about how nature teaches you the responsibility. And for me, nature also teaches me to slow down.
mm,
I don't have to be in a race. I don't have to get to the next thing in 20 minutes. I can take a minute. I can garden between meetings. It's okay if I have a little dirt on me. Just the things that, really ground me. That sounded so weird when I'm like, it's okay if I have a little dirt on me. But, when you like, I don't know
yeah,
if you do this, but working from home, sometimes if you have a little break in the afternoon, I would rather go out and do something and then come back to work. And when I say go out, I mean, take the dog for the longer walk, or let me garden for a little bit and then come back in, and I just, reset.
absolutely. Yes. There's something about it, and just getting the sunlight. Um,
Yes.
for me, being out on a sunny day increases my joy so much.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, I always like being outside, of course, but there's something about the sun. And, I live in the mid-Atlantic, and right now the weather's been crazy. We had, in the span of a week, we had snow, we had 80 degrees, we had all of these things. It was wild. And so really got to experience just how the weather impacted my day. And it just made me appreciate more the sun and the beauty that it brings. And now we have the cherry blossoms are out and all of the beautiful things. And soon the lilac will be out, and I'll be happy about that. And, it's just, there's something about the impact of nature and being outside that's just, it's incredible.
I couldn't agree more. I'm for the next year. I'm down all the way far south, Gulf Coast of Florida, where it is sunny every day, and I'm
Mm,
appreciating that so much because I've lived other places where it would be cloudy for 10 days straight,
yeah.
and I just appreciate that. So,
Yeah.
okay.
Just a quick aside. I went to grad school in upstate New York, and
Oh
the last year I was there, it snowed every day for 41 days. It may have
no,
snowed for just an hour or 2 hours or whatever, but
right?
every day for over 40 days, and I was just like, "Okay." It came, I saw, and now I'm gonna not experience this anymore. In the winter, I'll go back any other time, just not in the
Right.
winter.
Patrice, I think you might have broken my heart. You had 41 days of snow in one school year.
It's like, "Okay.
And
Thank
the
you, but
worst
no
part,
thank you."
right? The worst part is you were in graduate school, so you didn't get snow days or delayed openings. You still had to go.
Oh, yeah. I will say, though, the roads were absolutely clear. They had sidewalk plows, like, they know how to do snow, but no thank you.
No, I agree. No, thank you.
No
No,
thank
thank you. Okay. The last official question. I have one other question for you. As someone who works with business owners and leaders, what would you want listeners to remember about resilience, especially when they feel overwhelmed or discouraged in their work life?
Mm, it's really challenging to be a leader. It's challenging to have a business, to run a business, to be responsible for people. The best advice I can give is to take care of yourself. If you take care of yourself, if you're finding joy, if you're taking care of yourself, you can think more clearly. You can
Mhm.
interact with your team better. You can make sure that what you're creating as an end goal really aligns and is a part of a system that makes more sense overall. There's so much that comes out of taking care of yourself and finding ways to find joy and to laugh and to be engaged that really can't be replaced by anything else. So if you take care of yourself as a leader, that then flows to your team. So the one thing that I saw a lot of was burnout, and really impactful people with great ideas, people with great hearts, people that really wanted to do amazing things, but they didn't get to do that because they didn't take care of themselves. So I am a champion of taking care of yourself so that you can influence and take care of others.
Agreed. As someone who's been through burnout and back, agreed.
Yeah.
Take care of yourself. Okay, Patrice, bonus question. This conversation has been amazing. Every conversation with you is amazing. So it's a two-parter. Where and how can people listen to your amazing podcast? And then if people want to reach out to you to work with you, and this is me giving this pitch, not Patrice, this is completely my idea, how can people reach out to you?
Well, thank you for this question. It's very interesting. After my 20 plus year career in programs and operations and nonprofit, I decided to pivot and use my experience to help others. And so I've launched a company called Strongbridge AI, and we work on the back office of leadership development and coaching practices so that those folks can do the things that they love, which is engage with their clients. So if folks want to find me, I'm at strongbridgeai.com. And to go alongside that, I have a podcast called Strongbridge Conversations, where I engage with people in that space to really understand what brought them to where they are and what makes their businesses successful. The idea is that there's so much learning that can happen from people that have launched their businesses to people that are interested in starting or in the early phases of their business. So having you on my podcast was absolutely fantastic to learn about your journey and all of the wonderful things that you're doing. So that's how you can find me. I'd love to engage with folks if they're interested.
I highly recommend it. Working with Patrice and just talking to her is like, let me think for a minute. This is an ideal situation for me. It would be like an afternoon on the beach with the perfect book and a great glass of sparkling water with crushed ice and fresh fruit, and a little bit of a tropical breeze. That's, for me, it's that refreshing, it's that reviving to have these conversations with you. And I will say, after experiencing being on Patrice's podcast, I enjoyed her energy so much that I decided to turn around and invite her to be on mine, simply because I wanted more time with you. So it was a very selfish act.
This has been so fantastic. And I have to tell you, just after our other conversation, I was like, gosh, you don't always meet someone that you really align with. And I totally felt that. So I'm so happy to talk with you today.
Me too. Patrice, I want to thank you. Absolutely thank you for being so refreshing and so, I can't think of the right adjective for you, so refreshing and so strong in such a chaotic world. You're so peaceful. That's what I get from you, is the strength and peace. And so, remember to have moments, remember to find joy. Maybe, and I'm not saying this because it's for me or anything, but maybe bookmark this podcast so you can hear Patrice's wisdom on your really bad days. That would be my recommendation. And reach out to her. So Patrice, thank you so much. I'm so looking forward to further conversations with you. And hopefully at some point our paths cross, because I feel like we would spend an afternoon walking and laughing.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you so much. This has been so much fun.
Thank you. I'll talk to you soon, Patrice.
All right. Take care.
All right. Bye.